We're picking up with not Act 3, Scene 1, almost Act 3, Scene 1. Act 2, at the very end. Lysander talks with Helena, expresses his devotion, love for her, etc. She thinks he's mocking her. She leaves. Lysander sees Hermia, says she doesn't see Hermia, etc., etc. He gets up and leaves, and Hermia awakes. Help me, Lysander, help me, do thy best to pluck this crawling serpent from my breast. I mean, for pity, what a dream was here. Lysander, look how I do quake with fear. Methought a serpent ate my heart away, and you sat smiling at his cruel prey. That is, you sat smiling at me as my heart was being eaten away. Lysander, what, removed? She notices he's gone. Lysander, Lord, what, out of hearing, gone, no sound, no word. Where are you? Speak, and if you hear, speak of all loves. I swoon almost with fear. Know then I will perceive you are not nigh. Either death or you I'll find immediate lie. Why either death or you?
Because she thinks the only reason that he would leave is if there was some sort of danger.
Which makes him a coward, right? Because, I mean, he doesn't go to his girlfriend first. Possibly. If she doesn't find him, she might die in the woods because of some danger. What's the Romeo and Julietian possibility? She'll kill herself. Okay? Their last words together before they fell asleep, she says, thy love ne'er alter, this is line 68 or so, thy love ne'er alter till thy sweet life end. And he says, amen, amen. To that fair prayer say I, and then in life, when I end loyalty. Here is my sleep, here is my bed, sleep give thee all his rest. Anybody know what other action humans do has become, it's got to be at least thousands of years old, a metaphor for death? Sleep. Sleep is a metaphor for death. Every time you fall asleep, in a sense, you die. And then you wake up again. Christians have taken that, death and resurrection. Okay? She wakes up, and what does she next talk about? Essentially, death. Why? Well, Lysander has left her. What did he say? I'll die before I leave you. Act 3, Scene 1. We're still in the wood. Okay? And the clowns come in, or what are also called the rude mechanicals or the rustics. I don't like any of those terms. Rustic is probably the best, because rustic just implies they're not high social status, they don't have good manners, okay? They're not well educated and such. So they come in to rehearse their play. Why do it in the wood? Why not do it back at their, wherever they live, in Athens?
It's a surprise, sir.
Louder?
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise. They don't want to be seen. They don't want anybody to overhear, watch their practice and such. Okay? So they go about, and we're not going to go through all this, they go about starting the play and such. Puck comes in. Line 70 or so. 72 is when Puck actually enters. Okay? So Puck comes in, he's invisible to them, but he's visible to the audience. And he says, an aside. An aside is similar to a soliloquy. How? Only two people hear the aside. The speaker and the audience. Nobody else on the stage hears the aside. In a soliloquy, only the speaker, because it's the speaker thinking out loud, and the audience hears it. Because there is nobody else on stage. And aside, there's always somebody else on the stage. So, what hempen homespuns have we swaggering here? You've got a gloss. Hempen homespuns, rustics dressed in homespun fabric made from hemp. Okay, these are lower society status level folks. Again, they're all skilled tradesmen. So near the cradle of the fairy queen. Why? Go back to the very end of Act 2. So Hermia leaves, the sleeping Titania remains. She's usually, if we had a visual of the stage, so the stage is like this, as I said, you got a big column here, and an overhang here, doors back here, okay? Do it this way. So here's doors. She usually, when she takes her sleep, she usually falls asleep like here, okay? Near the back wall. Otherwise, she's going to be in the way for people moving around. So she's still asleep. Puck doesn't see her yet, or he doesn't acknowledge her. He sees the actors. So near the, take that back, he does hear. He's so near the cradle of the fairy queen. What? A play toward? I'll be an auditor and actor too, perhaps. I'm going to listen, and I might intervene. If he intervenes, will he be seen? No. So, we hear the play start, and Puck and Bottom come in. Bottom with an ass's head. Because you see the play start, Bottom goes off the stage for a moment, part of his play, part of the act, and then he comes back in. But when he comes back in, he doesn't look like he did before. Puck has put an ass's head on him. Why?
It's a pun.
How so?
Well, his name's Bottom, and they gave him the head of an ass.
Not that kind of ass. Donkey.
Yeah.
But I get your punning reference. But there is another pun. He now visually represents what he is. Bottom is an ass. He's a moron. He's an idiot. In those meanings of ass. Okay? And he says, if I were fair Thisbe, I were only thine quint, so monstrous, so strange, we are haunted. Pray, masters, fly, masters, help. And they all leave, and Puck is left with Bottom.
What line are we on? Sorry?
Right now, line 101. And Puck says, I'll follow you. I'll lead you about around. Around like a round of dancing. And so he says he's going to take him through bog, through bush, through brake, etc., etc. So Snout comes back in. O Bottom, thou art changed. What do I see on thee? What do you see? You see an ass head of your own, do you? Now, yes, he does. But what does Bottom mean by that? When he says you see an ass head of your own, do you? Bottom is saying, without having the modern psychological understanding of any of this language, are you projecting an ass's head onto me? Bottom doesn't know that he has a long snout and big ears. He hasn't made that connection yet. Okay? Snout leaves. Quince comes in. Bless thee, Bottom, bless thee, thou art translated. Translate means what? To take from one language into another. He's not been translated. That's called a malapropism, named after a character in an 18th century drama by William Congreve. Can't remember the name of the drama. You have a character named Mrs. Malaprop, and she uses the wrong words all the time. Okay? Shakespeare loves doing this, by the way. So, he says, thou art translated. What does he mean?
Like you finally become what you've always been to us.
Okay, but there's another word that begins with trans that describes this. Transformed into what you really are is kind of the implication by Shakespeare. Okay? He leaves. Bottom, I see their knavery. This is to make an ass of me, to freight me. This is an example of dramatic irony. Bottom doesn't realize the truth of those words. The audience does because they see there's an ass. Okay? He says, I'm not going to stir from here. Instead, he says, I'm not afraid. I'm going to sing. Why? You know, Mary Poppins says when things are bad, sing, you'll feel better. So he starts to sing. How should Bottom sing? Should Bottom have a sing like, I don't know, pick somebody with a really good voice, you know, Josh Groban or, no, he should sound, don't mean to punch any people's bubbles, he should sound like Dylan, man. Dylan did not have a good voice. He's not Nat King Cole. Just look up Nat King Cole, the smoothest, most gorgeous male voice ever. That's bottom would be like me singing. It's just not pleasant. Into Tanya awakes. So bottom, the ooze a cock so black of you. That's what he should sound like. What angel wake me from my flowery bed? See, angels are supposed to have beautiful voices. Enrapturing. Voices that almost, if we heard too many of them, would take our lives from us. We'd immediately ascend to heaven. He keeps singing to Tanya. I pray thee, gentle mortal, sing again. Let me pause for a second. What should Titania look like? If you want to name an actress that should portray her, that's fine. Should she be average? No. Queen of the Fairies. We're talking drop dead knockout. Gorgeous beyond belief. All right? That's important. Usually when acting companies have the actors who portray the humans also portray the fairies or elves. Helena, usually, the actress of Helena, usually also plays Titania, not Hermia. Okay, because Hermia's shorter. She's got a darker skin tone. She has dark hair, whereas the elves are supposed to be tall, beautiful, etc. Blonde, blue eyes, Nordic, Aryan, Titania, I pray thee, gentle mortal, sing again. Mine ear is much enamored of thy note. What does the word enamored mean? In amour, in loved. My ear has been like love has been poured into it. Why? She's had love and idleness juice, pansy juice, poured into her eyes by Oberon. But notice it's not just her eyes. It's her ear also. So the love and idleness seemingly affects all five of the senses. Because again, she might look at him and go, wow. But then she'd hear him and go, there's a problem here. So is mine eye enthralled to thy shape. So her ear is enloved with his sound, and her eye is enthralled. It becomes enslaved to his shape. What should bottom look like? Should bottom be handsome? No, not really. He shouldn't necessarily be like the Murfreesboro Little Theater did long time ago, around 2003 or so. My daughter, who was 7 or 8 at the time, my oldest daughter, 7 or 8 at the time, she played Peas Blossom or Cowboy. I can't remember which one. The young woman who played Titania / Helena was really good looking. Not drop dead gorgeous, but really good looking. And the guy who played bottom, I don't mean to be offensive or anything, this guy was, grotesquely obese. He was probably 5'5" and 400 pounds. I'm not kidding when I do this wide. He was a big boy, right? And Titania could have been a swimsuit model, okay? So, she sees him, my eyes enthralled to thy shape, and thy fair virtue's force, perforce doth move me on the first view, love at first sight, to swear, I love thee. Bottom. So, she says, your fair virtue's force, your fair, your beautiful virtue. There she's not talking necessarily about those inner qualities. Truth, justice, morality, love, fairness, honesty, those kinds of virtues. She's talking about the virtue of his beauty, his outward appearance. It does what? It perforce, that is through, by force, moves me to say, to swear, I love you. It's like she's saying, I don't have any control over myself. Methinks, mistress, you should have little reason for that. Why does Bottom mention reason? What does he mean by reason? Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's what he means. Where's the logic of that? Because Bottom's kind of going, look at me. Now, I don't think Bottom should be 400 pounds. He just shouldn't be really, really good looking. The guy who, we first saw in London in 2002 with my wife and I saw it, he wasn't like that. He was decent looking. He was good looking, but he wasn't drop dead gorgeous like the guy who played Theseus was, which we'll talk about in a moment. A little family anecdote involving my wife. So, you should have little reason for that. And yet, to say the truth, reason and love keep little company together nowadays. What is he saying about reason and love? What does it mean to keep little company together? They don't have much to do with each other. Reason and love, he's saying, are like oil and water. They don't mix. Nowadays. By saying nowadays, he might be suggesting that sometime in the past, love was rational. It made sense. But now it doesn't. And he goes on. The more the pity that some honest neighbors will not make them friends. Now, this can mean a couple of things, or a variety of things. We won't talk about all of them. But one of them is that love and reason are like neighbors. And their property abuts. They should get along. Why? Because their proximity. The more the pity that some honest neighbors will not make them friends. But he's implying, there's division between them. It could also mean that some honest neighbors to love and reason, that is, other virtues, don't try to patch things up between love and reason. Nay, I can gleek upon occasion, and you've got a gloss down there, jest. Does that mean he's jesting? Is he saying, is what he said just said a joke, in other words? And that love and reason have never gotten together, never gotten along. I don't think it is. I think this is one of Shakespeare's little subtle ways of saying, maybe love, romantic love, passionate love, ought to be more rational, more almost said sensical. That'd be like channeling Captain Mel. More sensible, okay? Thou art as wise as thou art beautiful. See, the way most critics read, and I completely understand why, what Bottom has said is, it's idiotic. It's something an ass would say. It's jackassery, in other words. How do we know? Because Titania says, thou art as wise as thou art beautiful. How beautiful is he? Human, donkey's head. There's nothing beautiful about that. What is that an example of? Go back to ancient Greek and Roman mythology. Greek first, before the Romans. Bestiality. How do you get creatures that are part human, part beast?
Human and beast.
It's not because humans and beasts mated. It's because a god and a beast mated. Because gods take the form of humans. The Minotaur was the son of, I can't remember which one of the gods.
No, the
Zeus.
Minotaur was the son of the Cretan bull that was blessed by the gods and the queen of Minos.
Okay. All right, so you get that And you end up with this, "Ew." I can't think of another word to describe it. "Ew," it's rather
It's
disgusting.
good. It's good.
Okay? So how wise is he?
Not very.
Thou art as wise as thou art beautiful. Not very. But who's speaking? This is, I think, the answer to what the critics say. She's speaking. What has happened? In her eyes, he is beautiful. Why? I said it last week. Love is where? Or Monday. It's in the eye of the beholder. The beholder is what is the thing that gilds the one that is loved. What does it mean to gild something? You encase it in gold. Because to you, the thing is worthy of that. Because gold is what? It's the most precious, well, till titanium and platinum. It's the most precious metal. Bottom, not so neither. Double negative, doesn't show bottom is grammatically incorrect, that he doesn't have good grammar. There was no rule in Shakespeare's day that said two negatives equal a positive in talking about language. There were no grammar rules in Shakespeare's day. What's it mean? He's emphasizing not true. I'm not as wise as I am beautiful. But if I had wit enough to get out of this wood, I have enough to serve mine own turn. In other words, if I could get out of here, I would do what? What does it mean to serve his own turn? Serve my own purposes, my own needs. She goes, no, 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 no. You are not going out of this wood. Not a fine specimen like you. Mm-mm-mm. Thou shalt remain here, whether thou wilt or no. Honey, you're mine, is what Titania is saying. And that goes back to that ancient, or at least the Middle Ages view of what the fairies want to do when they take us to their land. You've got in your introduction, I just noticed briefly this morning, it mentions the story of Tam Lin and Thomas Reimer. Those are two very famous Middle English stories about two individuals who were taken away to the land of the fairies. Okay? So why does she say then the next line, the third line there? I am a spirit of no common rate. That, if this were Old English, because I don't think this is a term that's used to describe this technique in Renaissance English. If this were Old English, this would be called litotes. Okay? It's a technical term that means exaggerated understatement. So when she says, I am a spirit of no common rate, it's exaggerated understatement. What is she really saying? I'm way up here, man. The common rate is down here. In other words, my word is command. When I say you're not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere. Okay? She says, the summer still doth tend upon my state. The summer, the season, attends to me. But goddess who controls it. And I do love thee. Meaning, we've got a long time. We've got months to enjoy each other. So, she says, you're going to go with me, and she calls her attendant elves to help her and to give him what he wants. 3-2. So, Titania leaves with Bottom and her attending elves. Oberon comes in and asks, little soliloquy, 3 lines. Yeah, 3 lines, and then Puck comes in. I wonder if Titania be awaked. Then, that is, if she has, what it was that next came in her eye, which she must dote on in extremity. Okay? Personal story. When my wife and I were there in 2002, she'd never been to the Globe because she'd never been to London. So we saw several plays at the Globe, and for Midsummer Night's Dream, we got groundling tickets. So here's the stage. There's the theater. And that's where the seats are, 3 levels, okay? This is called the yard. In the yard was where people purchased probably 1 pence, I don't remember the exact amount, like a penny, tickets, where you go there and you stand. Today, back then they were like £5. I think now these tickets are like £10, $12, $15, $13 to stand for 3 hours. If you go there today and sit down during the performance, one of the docents, one of the volunteers, will come up and gently grab you by the elbows and pick you up. No sitting. If it starts to rain, no opening an umbrella because it blocks other people's views. So these people are called groundlings. This is where the common rate, to use Tanya's language, people would attend. Okay? They would bring food with them. The ground in this area was dirt, shells, maybe some straw, and whatever gets thrown on the ground while the groundlings are there. Little sidebar. We have from anecdotal evidence, we believe from anecdotal evidence, letters, things like that the groundlings, some of them, they'd be watching the play and they suddenly have the urge, we would say, to use the restroom. Well, they wouldn't go anywhere. They'd just drop their pants right there. Men and women, and go, okay? So, if the play wasn't good, just pick up whatever's near you and throw it at the stage. Yeah, really, ew, man, disgusting. This is one reason Shakespeare doesn't only write his plays, he acts in them. So there's another reason why you really want to appeal not only to the rude mechanicals, the rustics down here, but you also have to, what's the word I just used? You also have to appeal, thank you, to the snobs, the high class people up here, including sometimes the Queen. We know that Queen Elizabeth took in at least some of Shakespeare's plays, right? So, this stage, like I said the other day, it's like 42 feet wide, 24 feet deep. Right here, the whole stage today, and it's built to the exact same specifications as the Globe was, is about 5 feet tall. I'm about 5'10". My wife's like, I won't remember. I'll say, how tall are you? 5'1.5", because that half inch is important when you're 5'1". She comes up, and it's like she's like right here, to the stage is here. Okay, so the guy playing Oberon / Theseus comes out. His name's Paul Higgins. Remember this. He's a Scot. My wife loves Scotsmen. I think I mentioned something about Sean Connery before. And this guy's like Chris Hemsworth, good looking. And he's just got the most, and I say this as a very hetero straight male, he's got the most gorgeous Scottish voice. This wonderful lilt to it. And he comes out, and my wife's sitting there like, it's actually right here, sitting there like this. And he comes out and gets down on his knees, like this far away from her, and says, I wonder if Titania be awake. And my wife says, yes. And I'm like, Karen, shut the hell up. Because 3,500 sets of eyes just, just right there. And he starts ad-libbing. He's like, no. And she's like, yes. Then what was it that next came in her eye? And she said an ass. She goes, no, yes. And the audience is just, if these people up here could roll on the floor and laugh, they would roll on the floor and laugh. These people are just stomping their feet. This goes on literally for like 5 minutes. And I'm sitting there turning every shade of red, that you can imagine. And my wife's just, I don't think we saw any other play that summer that had him in it. And it's the only other thing we've seen him in. I've looked him up online. He's an actor. Hasn't done TV, hasn't done film. Anyways, here comes my messenger. Puck comes in. And Puck says, my mistress with a monster is in love. Now, would we call Bottom a monster?
No.
Maybe, not usually. There's a poor guy, he's got an ass's head. Near to her clothes, and so he goes on and describes Bottom. Oberon, 35. This falls out better than I could devise. In other words, yes. But hast thou latched the Athenian's eyes with the love juice, as I bid thee do? He's just found out his wife is in love with a monster, so he's going to be able to get the little boy that he wants from her. And what else is Theseus concerned about? He's concerned about true love. Excuse me, Oberon, not Theseus. Big difference. He's concerned about true love. I took him sleeping. Yep, did that. Demetrius and Hermia come in. Oberon, this is the same Athenian. This is the one you should have put the love juice in the eyes. That's the woman that was there, but that's not the man. Because Demetrius and Hermia come in. They stand aside. They become invisible. Why rebuke you him that loves you so? Hermia, why are you rebuking me, him, that loves you so? Lay breath so bitter on your bitter foe. Now I but chide, but I should use thee worse, for thou, I fear, hast given me cause to curse. Now I'm just using you with my words, that is, abusing you. She goes, oh, better watch out. Pretty soon I'll be using something else, meaning she'll fight him. Okay? Why? What does she think he has given her that may cause her to curse? She thinks he's killed Lysander. Why else would Lysander leave her side? Well, you can go, Lysander said if you'd slept in one bed, these kind of things wouldn't happen. So, they go back and forth. We're going to skip a bunch. Hermia leaves. Lysander lies down to sleep. He says, line 82, there is no following her in this fierce vein. That is, she's in a mood. I better give her time to cool off. Oberon, what hast thou done? What does he mean?
What did you just do?
Yeah, man, you screwed this up. Thou hast mistaken quite and laid the love juice on some true love's sight. Of thy misprision must perforce ensue some true love turned, and not a false turned true. What he's saying is, I wanted you to put that love juice on Demetrius's eyes when he would wake up and see Helena. Now, he doesn't know who Demetrius is. He's never seen Demetrius before. But he doesn't know who Hermia is. Okay? So he's thinking, you must have put it on somebody else's eyes, and now you've really messed things up. Puck. Then fate overrules. That one man holding troth, a million fail, confounding oath on oath, oath on oath. Fate overrules. Not my fault. It's like Flip Wilson used to have old comedian, used to have a TV show called The Flip Wilson Show, and he'd have this character dressed as a woman who'd say, the devil made me do it. That is, I couldn't control myself. It was the devil that did it. Fate overrules. But notice what else. That one man holding troth, that is, being faithful and loyal in love, a million fail. So for every one man who is faithful in love, there's a million who aren't. So what does that say about the odds of finding a faithful lover? Not so good. Oberon, go about the wood. Find Helena of Athens. All fancy sick she is, and pale of cheer, with sighs of love that cost the flesh blood dear. That is, even though she's white, she's very pale in the face. Why? Her blood has drained. Love sickness. By some illusion, bring her here. I'll charm his eyes, Demetrius, against she do appear. Against, so that opposing her physically, that is, what does opposing literally mean? One standing this way facing that way, and one standing this way facing that way. So that when he sees her, he will fall in love with her. He says, I'll go. So Oberon puts the juice now in Demetrius's eyes. So the juice, once he does that, whose eyes has it been put in? Go do them in order. Lysander's, Titania, and now Demetrius. Okay? The first two, wrongly, and I say wrongly because Titania really doesn't love Bottom. She really does love her husband. They're just having a spat. So, love is being all mixed up. And he says, sink in the apple of his eye when his love he doth espy, let her shine as glorious light as the Venus of the sky. Why Venus? Why not Mars? Why not the moon? Aphrodite, goddess of love. When thou wakes, if she be by, beg of her for remedy. Okay? There's going to be a problem with that, however. He's assuming what at this point? Demetrius will wake up. He'll say, oh, my Helena. And she'll go, oh, my Demetrius. Time doesn't freeze, right? Puck says, when he comes in, here comes Helena. And the youth mistook by me, that is, Lysander, shall we their fond pageant see? Fond, foolish, pageant, this little play they're going to put on. Are they intending to put on a play? No. For Puck and Oberon, it will be a play. Lord, what fools these mortals be. Why? That's a quote. I've got a t-shirt with it from the Globe. Lord, what fools these mortals be, as well as from the Nashville Shakespeare Company. It's one of the most quoted passages from Shakespeare. Why? What's he saying? Why are these mortals fools?
Being led around by love.
They're being led around by love. They're following their hearts, not their minds. Go back to what Bottom said. Nowadays, love, and reason aren't friends. They aren't neighbors. They're enemies. Puck's kind of implying, we elves, we're better than that. Really? What was our first experience of seeing the elves? Oberon and Titania, going at it. Why? Stupid little Indian kid. Sorry. Little Indian changeling boy. Oberon, stand aside. The noise they make will cause Demetrius to awake. Notice, he doesn't separate them somehow. What does he not know yet? He doesn't know that Lysander is in love with Helena. So now Demetrius is going to wake up and they're both going to be in love with Helena. And this isn't 2025 and a menage a trois is not acceptable, Or threesome, whatever. Thruple, I think it's now called. Language changes too fast for me.
These are all different things.
These are, okay. Then will two at once woo. That's a hard line to say. Woo one. Too many was in it. That must needs be sport alone. Sport means something to be observed and enjoyed. Doesn't mean physical activity. And those things do best please me that befall preposterously What is something that's preposterous?
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It is without reason. We're in the wood where chaos reigns. Chaos is just really starting to blossom yet here. Okay? So Lysander and Hermia come in. We hear them talk a little bit back and forth. Demetrius wakes up. He sees Helena. Good thing he doesn't see Lysander first.
Wait,
Go ahead.
so even though he said in the little passage that it would be her, she, even if Lysander walked in first, he would fall in love with him. A few lines.
You're right. I didn't think about that. Hit with you. Seek an apple of his eye, when his love he doth espy. Let her shine as glory's light.
Yeah.
You're right. I didn't think about that.
So it would.
No, he wouldn't fall in love with Lysander because he puts a spell
Uh-huh.
with the juice. If he just poured the juice,
Then it would be anyone.
whatever he sees first.
Okay.
Okay? Good, very good point. I kind of wish he hadn't because I like the idea of the other. Because Shakespeare does love to, he loves to go up to that boundary line. Sometimes sticks his toe over it and looks beyond.
Well, they fucked up twice.
Not nearly as much as many modern critics suggest. Let me put it that way also. So, Demetrius wakes up. O Helen, goddess, nymph, perfect, divine. You don't get any better than that if you're a woman and have a man speaking to you and it's a man that you love. I mean, he's just called her what? I'll fall down before you and worship you, To what, my love, shall I compare thine eyne? Okay, he doesn't just do that so that it rhymes with divine. Thine eyne is grammatically correct in late Middle Ages, not so much in Shakespeare's day. Okay, and we still use that same rule today. You don't say, well, you shouldn't say or write a open desk. You should say what? And open. You put this before the next word if it begins with a vowel. Okay? So thine eye, you put the ing on because of the I. Now what's going on here? Okay, he's fallen in love with her, right? What has really happened? Go back to the poem that you so rightly pointed out, or the invocation or the spell. He is when his love he doth espy, let her shine as glorious lie, as the Venus of the sky. In other words, he's seeing how. We're going to hear Oberon use language later about Titania, when he removes the power from her eyes. He's going to say, see as thou wast wont to see. Want, before, is what it means in that context. What is Demetrius now seeing? Or how is Demetrius now seeing?
That she's beautiful, that he loves her.
He's seeing her as he did before he saw Hermia. He's seeing her as he is supposed to see her. Why? Because before he saw Hermia, what did he do? He wooed Helena, or Helena, if you want. So, what should I compare your eyes to? Crystal is muddy. Crystal ain't muddy, folks. That's muddy. Crystal is clear. Oh, how ripe in show, appearance, thy lips, those kissing cherries. Notice, ripe cherries. What do you do with ripe cherries? You eat them. You devour them. You put them to your lips. No other way to eat them. Tempting grow. Her lips become like what? What other fruit has been quote unquote tempting? Apple, garden, Eve. That pure congealed white high Taurus' snow, fanned with the eastern wind, turns to a crow when thou holdst up thy hand. Oh, let me kiss this princess of pure white, the seal of bliss. Like a vision. Helena. Oh, spite. That's like the strongest language Shakespeare could use. Okay? The play had to be approved by what's called the Stationer of Registers before it could be performed. That censors. Okay? She couldn't say, oh, they did have the F word, not phi, another vowel, followed by oh, hell.
This is before the MPAA. And
Yeah, long before the MPA. I see you all are bent to set against me for your merriment. You all? Who's the you all? Lysander, Demetrius, Hermia too? Not yet. In a moment. If you were civil and knew courtesy, you would not do me thus much injury. If you were civil,
And have manners.
what does civil mean? Followed laws of courtesy, you would not do thus much. Can you not hate me as I know you do, but you must join in souls to mock me too? I know you hate me, Demetrius, but you have to mock me? What does it mean? What's the difference between hate and mockery? How do you mock someone you hate? You take your face and you push it in it. You can otherwise just hate them. Okay, she's saying, man, this is low. So we're going to skip a bunch of what she says. Lysander, you are unkind, Demetrius. Be not so. What does he mean by unkind?
He knows that Demetrius didn't like her
Previously. What does kind mean? Does it mean nice? It is one meaning of it. And unkind means unnice. But there's another meaning of kind. What kind is this? What kind of thing is this? It's a bottle. Kind also deals with something's nature. By calling Demetrius unkind, Lysander is saying, you are unnatural, Demetrius. You are beastly. Why? Because Lysander knows he's the one who said it. You used to love Helena. By no longer loving her, he is being unnatural to himself. He's going against his nature. Be not so. In other words, be who you are. For you love Hermia. Why? He loved Helena. I totally reversed what I was saying before. He's saying you're being unkind now. Why? Now you love Hermia. So I reversed those. Before you loved Helena, so now he's saying, be what you are or what you were before you came into the forest. Love Hermia. You can have her. Here with all goodwill, with all my heart, in Hermia's love I yield up you my part. That is, she's yours. Is Hermia there? Right there? In this? No, she's not. Okay? Helena. Never did mockers waste more idle. Why does Helena call what Lysander is saying mockery? She doesn't believe he's being honest. This is all part of the verbal game. Demetrius, Lysander, keep your Hermia. I will none. I will means desire. I want. I wish. If e'er I loved her, all that love is gone. My heart to her, but as guest-wise sojourned. Guest-wise. She was like a guest in my heart. Charged her $10.99 a night, blah, 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 blah. And now to Helen is it home, or I was like a guest in her heart. Now to Helen is it home returned. True. True. Helen's the one he loved first. Okay? They go back and forth. Hermia comes in. does she address them by name. Dark night that from the eye his function takes. The ear more quick of apprehension makes. That is, when it's dark, we can't see well, notwithstanding that Renaissance idea that our eyes shoot out light beams, and that's what enables us to speak. She says it can be dark as pitch black night, but we can still hear. That's why it quickly of apprehension makes, wherein it doth impair the seeing sense. It pays the hearing double recompense. Thou art not by mine eye, Lysander, found. My ear, I thank it, brought me to thy sound. So she's wandering out in the woods, and she hears Lysander's voice, and she follows it. But why unkindly, there's that word again, didst thou leave me so? But notice, unkindly here means both not nice. It wasn't nice to leave me, a young maiden woman, virgin woman, alone in the forest. And it was also, she is suggesting, unnatural. Because what did he say? I won't stop loving you until my heart stops breathing. And here you are, and your heart is beating, and your heart is beating. Lysander. Notice how he addresses himself. Why should he stay whom love doth press to go? He uses he because it's the object of the verb. He's not speaking of himself as subject. Why? Love commands. I'm under the power of love. Love says, Lysander, go here. And I have no choice. What love could press Lysander from my side? Press there has a specific meaning, I think, in Shakespeare's day. I know it has this meaning in the 17th and 18th and 19th centuries. I think it's a naval term, okay, like ocean, merit sailors and such. British history, if a king, for example, needed sailors to man the ships for a battle or for, to invade or something. If they didn't have enough people in the Navy, they would have armed men go through the nearby towns to the port where the ship is and get young men and press them into service. That is, shackles and manacles. And make them go man the oars and things like that. I think they're using press in that sense. Love forced, okay, in other words. Lysander says, in answer, what love could do that? Lysander's love, that would not let him bide. What does bide mean? To bide your time. Wait. My love wouldn't let. Wait where? With Hermia, sleeping. Fair Helena, who more in gilds the night. Now there it doesn't mean covers it with gold. It means what? Makes it daytime. Makes it full of light. Then all yon fiery O's and eyes of light, why seekst thou me? Why are you looking for me? Could not this make thee know the hate I bear thee made me leave thee so? Wow. Why did I leave? Because I hate you. You make me sick to look at you. She's like, you speak not as you think. Cannot be. Helena. Lo, she is one of this confederacy. You're in on it too? I mean, at least us being the same sex, you should side with me against these pigs, Now I perceive they have conjoined all three to fashion this false sport. The same word that Puck used to describe this fond pageant. Who's it sport for, though? Themselves. She's saying The three of them are doing this for what? So they can get laughs at my expense. Injurious Hermia, most ungrateful maid, and then she does what? She goes and talks about their previous friendship and relationship. They grew up together, they slept together, nothing sexual involved, shared the same bed, shared the same room, shared their loves and, all that kind of stuff. Hermia, I am amazed at your passionate words. What does it mean to be amazed? You don't have a gloss there. Dumbstruck. It doesn't just mean surprised. She means, what the hell are you talking about? It's another way to put it for me. I scorned you not. It seems, here's that verb, condition contrary fact, it seems that you scorned me. It looks like. Have you not set Lysander as in scorn to follow me and praise my eyes and face? Didn't you set him up to this? And made your other love, Demetrius, who even but now did spurn me with his foot to call me goddess, nymph divine, precious, celestial. He didn't use those words, but why not add them when you're on a roll? She goes, I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead, continue, persever. Counterfeit sad looks. What does it mean to counterfeit something? Fake it?
Make a fake copy.
Make a fake copy? Okay. She said, no, the sport shall be well chronicled, etc., etc. Lysander says, stay, gentle Helena. Hear my excuse. She's thinking, look at the end of Helena's speech, 243. 'Tis partly my own fault, which death or absence soon shall remedy. What is partly her own fault? And how is it her own fault? When Lysander and Hermia told her what they were going to do, did they say, oh, go tell Demetrius? No, they told that in confidence. It's partly her fault because she told them that. So now, in her mind, they're playing this trick on me. Hear my excuse, Lysander says. Oh, excellent. In other words, this ought to be a doozy. Sweet, do not scorn her so, Hermia says. Demetrius, if she cannot entreat, I can. Don't poke fun at Helena. Notice, Demetrius kind of comes to Helena's defense. Not because he loves her, but why? He's honorable. He's a gentleman. He does have courtesy. He is civil. He does have manners. All of these things that are common in Athens, but not over here in the wood, when I had those written up there. So, Lysander, you can't compel any more than she can entreat. In other words, you can't do anything to me, okay? Helen, I love thee. By my life I do. I swear by that which I will lose for thee, to prove him false that says, I love thee not. Demetrius, I say love thee more than he can do. So they both said, I love you more than he does. Notice what position she, in one sense, finds herself in. These are two handsome men, old families, wealthy. Everyone in Athens says they're, a good catch. She could have her pick. But she doesn't think either of them are serious. Okay? Hermia, Lysander, what? They go back and forth, and Lysander says to Hermia, when she says, Lysander, whereto tends all this? Away, you Ethiop. He tries to break free from Hermia. What does that imply? He tries to break free. She's grabbed onto him. Away, you Ethiop. Does your book have a gloss for that?
Yeah, it says, get away, you African.
You African. Why? Where's Ethiopia?
Africa.
It's in Africa. Why does he call her an African? I mean, it's kind of sudden, right? It's just kind of like an African. It gets dropped in. It has to do with her skin color and her hair color. Like my book has no gloss, and I know why. Because David Bevington's a coward. He doesn't want to address that issue. She's supposed to be black. She, bear in mind, a boy or young man playing the role. Possibly, I've never actually looked into this. Possibly in blackface or with soot, because they didn't have the black pink kind of stuff. Okay? You Ethiop. Demetrius says, no, he'll seem to break loose. Take on as you would follow, but yet come not. You are a tame man. Go. Lysander again says to Hermia, hang off, thou cat, thou burr, vile thing, let loose, or I will shake thee from me like a serpent. Every one of those examples indicates smallness, other than Ethiop. Ethiop implies complexion. Hermia, why are you grown so rude? What changes? Out, tawny Tartar, out. Now, Tartar is not African. Tartar is
I think I had a footnote earlier that said from a group from Asia Minor, which
Huns.
is now modern day Turkey.
Yeah. So darker skinned, but not black. Okay? So not necessarily literally African, but darker skinned. Again, the model of beauty is this. Okay, not even Helena has this though. Bear in mind. All right? So, Tartar, tawny, tartar, etc., loathed medicine, hated potion. Hermia is asking if you jesting. They go back and forth. Lysander says, even though I hate her, I won't harm her. She goes, really? What more harm can you do? Cue the country music song. Wherefore, O me, what news, my love? Am not I Hermia? Are not you Lysander? I am as fair now, beautiful, as I was ere while. Since night you loved me, yet since night you left me. Why then you left me, O the gods forbid, in earnest? That is, are you in earnest? Are you serious? Do you really mean you don't love me? He says, by my life. You finally understand. 'Tis no jest that I do hate thee and love Helena. And she turns to Helena. O me, you juggler, you canker blossom, you thief of love. Canker blossom. A canker is the rot that takes hold inside a bud and doesn't allow it to open up and bloom and become everything it's meant to be. It rots and smells and stinks. What have you come by night and stolen my love's heart from him? What was her dream? She dreamed that a serpent came and ate her heart. Well, what, just prior to the dream, what is her heart really, or metaphorically? It is Lysander. I am yours, you are mine, that kind of a thing. Helena, fine in faith. Have you no modesty? No. In other words, enough. You've played this game far enough. I mean, we women have to stick together. No touch of bashfulness. What will you tear impatient answers from my gentle tongue? Fie, you counterfeit, you puppet, you. See, counterfeit and puppet are synonyms. We described earlier, counterfeit as something pretending to be something else, a fake of something. So how is a puppet a counterfeit? It's not a real person, whether you're talking about like a hand puppet or a marionette. It is something that is being controlled by something else. You counterfeit, you puppet. But what is every puppet compared to a real, full-bodied human? It's smaller. Okay? This is important. Really important. Puppet. That's the way goes the game. Now I perceive she hath made compare between our statures. She hath urged her height, and with her personage, her tall personage, her height forsooth, she hath prevailed with him. What is Hermia telling us about herself?
Short and insecure about it.
She's short, and thank you for the rest, and she's insecure about it. Okay? It's the Randy Newman song from the late 80s, early 90s. Short people, anybody know the rest of the first line? Got no reason to live. When my daughter was old enough, fully grown, 5'2 1/4", I think, because that 1/4 inch when you're 5'2" is really, really important, at least to her. I'd sing that and she'd go, Dad, And then when we saw the play, she just loved this scene. I mean, she go Hermia, Short people got to stick together. She hath prevailed with him, and are you grown so high in his esteem because I am so... Now, did anybody say she was dwarfish and low? Because my eldest son, who's 6'1", started for some reason calling my eldest daughter, 5'2", Hobbit. That became the family joke. So we'd have you been shaving your foot hair, Hobbit? And she's like... It's fun when we all get together. Because I am so dwarfish and so low, how low am I, thou painted maypole? What's a maypole? No gloss here again. There should be. Did yours have a gloss?
Mine just says, how, modern translation says, how short am I, you painted barber pole?
Barber pole's kind of similar.
It's either nuptial or kind of pagan.
It's to celebrate the rites of May Day. You have this pole, and young men and women each take a streamer that's tied at the top, and they wind around the pole. And guess what happens with that streamer? The more and more you wind it, it gets wound around the pole until you're all kind of together, wrapped around the pole. Usually one man, one woman, unless you want to go off and, do a little more. I won't say anything else. So, what has she described Helena as? She's the painted maypole, and the two men are going to join with her. Speak, how low am I? I am not yet so low, but that my nails can reach unto thine eyes. And she jumps. Okay? Seen multiple versions of this, and the best ones are, because Helena is a small actress, she jumps literally up at Hermia, up at Helena, who's the better ones I've seen. Helena's 5'9", 5'10", and Hermia's 4'8", 4'9", 4'10". Okay? So she, like this. I pray you, though you mock me, gentlemen, let her not hurt you. Help! You perhaps may think because she's something lower than myself that I can match her. Because she's smaller that I can defeat her. Lower! Hark! Again? I mean, she's just pushing all the buttons. She doesn't intend to. Okay? Don't be bitter. Calm down. Let me go. 3:17. You see how simple and how fond I am. Simple means kind of uneducated in these ways. Naive would be a good word. To be naive isn't necessarily bad. To be naive of evil, that's really good. And how fond, foolish. Get you gone. Who's stopping you? Who is it that hinders you? A foolish heart that I leave here behind. Does she mean this metaphorically? She's leaving her heart here on the ground? Or is her foolish heart left with Demetrius? Gotta cut that sucker out. with Lysander, with Demetrius. Okay? Lysander and Hermia and Demetrius both say, don't worry, Helena, we'll protect you. We're not going to let Hermia harm you. Oh, when she is angry, she is keen and shrewd. She was a vixen when she went to school. What's a vixen? Female fox. What are foxes? Are foxes something we have to be worried about? If you're out walking in the woods or something and a fox comes up, do you really need to worry about it? No, you can kick it. They're small. They're like little small dogs. Okay? Sorry, don't mean to. I love foxes. We have them traipse through our yard every now and then. But they're not something that can really hurt you unless you're incapacitated in some way.
My version says she was a hellcat in school.
Hellcat would be a little bit different, but okay, it implies. And this is another T-shirt. One of us got my daughter. And though she but little, she is fierce. You got to watch out for the little women, in other words, you know. Little, again, low, little. So, get you gone, Lysander. Now, this is kind of over the top. I mean, this is low. Get you gone, you dwarf. You minimus. Miniature version, you know, what the spy who loved me, spy who shagged me, whatever, the mini me kind of a thing. Of hindering not grass made, you bead, you acorn. I mean, the image he keeps using, they're just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Demetrius, time out, you know. You are too officious in her behalf. That's not needed, okay? So, Lysander leaves. Demetrius goes off following him. Why? He wants to fight. Okay? Hermia, you mistress, you know, you're the cause of all this. Helena leaves. She doesn't want to be alone with Hermia. Hermia leaves. Oberon and Puck come forward. Now, imagine for a moment, you're an audience. This is going on. Take that back. This is going on. You're the director. What do you tell Puck and Oberon to do while they see this?
Just
Sit and enjoy the show.
Sit in, both of them? Who sits and or stands and enjoys the show? Puck. He loves this. This is the greatest thing in the world for him. The one production we saw in London, the guy who played Puck, I can't remember his name. I see him every now and then and stuff. Little short guy, had to have been a gymnast. Because these columns at the Globe today, the columns are about 2 feet in diameter. I mean, they're big suckers. And at about 5 feet high, they have a wide ridge that goes all the way across. This guy would jump from standing up onto there. And he's watching them, and he's just howling, laughing. They can't hear him, obviously. They're just having a great old time. Oberon's just sitting back there. And if they could have done it, I'm sure they would. You know, steam coming out of his ears. He's just getting angrier and angrier and angrier. This is thy negligence. Still thou mistakest, or else committest these knaveries, thy knaveries willfully. What does he mean by still?
Stop.
No.
Continuing, like you're still doing it, you're continuing to do that.
Always. The word still, in this context, one of the meanings of the word still is always, constantly. You do this. What's he really mean? Or else committest thy knaveries willfully. You always screw up, that's the mistakest, or you're not screwing up. You do it all the time. Believe me, King of Shadows, I mistook. You said, you'll know him by his Athenian garments. Lysander's wearing Athenian garments. You didn't say anything else. And so far blameless proves my enterprise that I have anointed in Athenians' eyes, and so far am I glad it so did start, as this their jangling esteem a sport. Is it a sport for Helena? Hermia? What's it leading to? Why did Lysander and Demetrius go off the stage?
Kill each other.
To kill each other. In ancient Greek drama, no deaths, no fights occurred on stage. They always occurred off the stage. Why? It was considered to be a spectacle, meaning not something to be seen. What could easily happen with this play? This is that point right here. It's the point of climax. It's the point of the most highest emotions. What could happen at this point?
They could all die.
In which case, it's now a tragedy. Every comedy can be a tragedy. Not every tragedy can be a comedy. Okay? Did you have a hand up? Okay. So, thou seest these lovers seek a place to fight. So he tells them something to do. Go find them, make it so that they all fall asleep in a single space, so that Lysander is where? Next to whom? Hermia. And Demetrius is next to Helena. And make it actually so that, Lysander's face is this way and Hermia's face is this way, and they're facing each other, And he gives them this herb. And he says, the herb has this virtuous property, to take from thence all error with his might. Crush this into Lysander's eyes. Why? So that when he wakes up, he will see as he saw before. He will not be in love with Helena anymore. So that when they next wake, all this derision shall seem a dream and fruitless vision. What's the difference between a fruitless vision and a vision? Nothing comes of it. It's just a dream. A vision is something that does have a bearing in life and reality. Okay? And then back to Athens, Theseus says, shall the lovers win? What about Demetrius? What about his eyes?
He doesn't want that. He wants him to stay in love with Helena.
Why? You're right, entirely.
Because with how Helena was, and he wanted him to see how he was before her, before her.
He is seeing what he should see. Okay? When he saw Hermia, it's like, okay, it seems, it's not literal. It's like he had a love potion on his eyes. When he ditched Helena for Hermia. Okay? Which he's going to say. Maybe in a few moments, but probably not. So, we see Puck, Oberon leave. Puck does what he's told to do. He gets them to fall asleep where they're supposed to be. He puts the juice in Lysander's eyes, so he wakes up still loving, or back to loving, Hermia. 4-1. Titania comes in. This is the last scene in the wood. Why? There's still chaos. It's still unnatural, so to speak. She comes in with her fairies and such, and Bottom. And the fairies all leave, and we're told, line 41. So think of that 400-pound young man playing Bottom in that Murfreesboro Little Theater version, and the swimsuit model, essentially. And by the way, the costume they had for, can't remember her name, the young lady who played Titania, when she was playing Titania, it was essentially a bikini. Okay? and she was green, if I remember right. I think that's right. She says, all the fairies are gone, so it's just Titania and Bottom. So doth the woodbine the sweet honeysuckle gently entwist. The female ivy so enrings the barky fingers of the elm. What is she describing? How wrapped around Bottom she is. Legs entwined, arms going every which way, meaning nothing can separate us. Oh, how I love thee, how I dote on thee. They fall asleep. Puck comes in, Oberon comes forward. He's seen all of this. He says, you see, her dotage now do I begin to pity. For meeting her of her late behind the wood, what did he do? He talked with her, and he got I won't use the phrase I used before, he got the young Indian changeling boy from her, okay? But now that he has the young Indian boy, he says, I did upbraid her and fall out with her, for she's hairy temples then had rounded with coronet of fresh, etc., etc. Skipping a bit. So, he says to Puck, line 66. Now, go back, 65, talking about Bottom. He awaking when the other do may all to Athens back again repair, and think no more of this night's accidents as the fierce vexation of a dream. What does he mean by accidents? Two things. Two very, very, very different things. The normal meaning of accident, like two things colliding into each other. Okay, we call it an accident. There's another meaning. The other meaning, we don't have time to go into this because I will go into it again on Monday. Spelled this way is a philosophical idea. Okay? The first one, substance and accidents. Substance, that which a thing is composed of or made of. What is the substance of this thing? Plastic. What is plastic's substance? What is it made of? What does it ultimately derive from? Petroleum, oil, okay? What is the substance of this? Wood. Wood pulp. Might be cotton, but it's wood pulp. What is its accidents? The accidents is the shape or the form that something appears. Paper, bottle, okay? So, the shape or the appearance of something versus the essence of something. This is its essence, this is its appearance. He says, and think no more of this night's appearance or appearances, its forms, as the fierce vexation of a dream. He doesn't address what is the substance of a dream. Theseus will. And then Hamlet will even more when we get to Hamlet. He puts the juice in Titania's eyes. Be as thou wast wont to be, as you used to be. See as thou wast wont to see. Meaning, does he mean don't see Bottom as your lover? I mean, that's partially it. What does it really mean? See me as your lover. See me as your Lord, husband, not lording it down. Diane's bud over Cupid's flower hath such force and blessed power. Now, my Titania, wake you, my sweet queen. My Oberon. Notice, my Oberon. What visions have I seen? Now, your director, how do you have them arranged on the stage? She's sleeping, and like the honeysuckle or whatever wound around the elm tree, she's all entwined with Bottom, but she's looking up here at Oberon, like she's unaware of this. what visions have I seen? Methought I was enamored of an ass. There lies your love. And like, my God. How came these things? How? Oh, how mine eyes do loathe his visage now. Silence a while. In other words, it's almost like he puts his finger to her lips and goes, shh, don't worry about it. Okay, ladies, put yourself in her shoes or on her bed. And you're going to go, oh, okay, I won't think about it. Not quite sure that would fly. Well, I know it wouldn't fly with my wife. I'd be dead. We'll pick up here. We'll probably spend 30 minutes to finish Midsummer Night's Dream. I'll probably spend the most amount of time on the speech that Theseus gives about dreams and visions and lovers and poets and something else, madmen, okay? So try to read the first couple acts of As You Like It. I think we will try to do As You Like It, even though we're now a day or so behind, 2 days behind, soon to be 3. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Thanks.